Welcome back to your Boxing Authority Friday Night Fights, presented by Miller Lite from Norman, Oklahoma, about 45 minutes outside of Oklahoma City. Tony Ayala, Anthony Bonsante in a 12-round super middleweight showdown. Bob Papa, Teddy Atlas ringside. 32-year-old Anthony Bonsante, known as the Bullet, is from Minnesota. 160.5 pounds, 21 wins, 3 losses, 11 knockouts. His last 5 opponents, though, a combined record of 83 and 200. That's a 29% win percentage. He's feasting on Midwestern fare. Tony Ayala is 40 years of age. He turned 40 on February the 13th, fighting out of San Antonio, Texas. El Torito. As a pro, 31-1, 27 knockouts, his only loss. Here on Friday Night Fights, just under a little over 2 years ago, to Yuri Boy Campa, stopped in the 9th round. So Tony Ayala and Anthony Bonsante in a 12-round super middleweight showdown. Joe Miller is the referee for this bout, as both men come to the center for final instructions. Ayala, of course, tremendous amateur career, made the 1980 U.S. Olympic team at the age of 17, was on his way to stardom, but sexual assault charges, legal problems landed him in jail. Since coming out, he is 9-1 with 7 knockouts, 49 rounds of action. We've seen him on Friday Night Fights against Yuri Boy Campas, the loss. Tuesday Night Fights against Santos Cardona, good solid win. Manuel Lopez, Urbano Garroyo, and coming off a September 6th win against Lee Fortune. He's had more legal problems since coming out, but Ayala hopes to get his career back on track and score a big payday.
Anytime you fight Ayala, the way to go is usually to move. Ayala likes to be set, to punch. He has big power in that left hook to the body and to the head. You stand in front of him, he can hurt you.
21 years ago, Ayala was dubbed by Ring Magazine as the brightest young fighter since Sugar Ray Leonard. Of course, Sugar Ray Leonard is the promoter on this show, and Ayala still pursuing that dream.
Bonsante, not great skills, a lot of heart, game fighter, but you can see he has it in his head to have some kind of game plan here tonight. He's trying to use the jab, stay outside, stay away from the strong Ayala. Try to use the ring a little bit to keep Ayala from getting set. As we just mentioned before, the punch with that left hook.
The left hand by Ayala, then he digs a left to the body and a right to the head. So Bonsante stays in range and gets tagged.
That's the key, Bob. Bonsante, if he's going to have a successful night tonight, cannot stay in range. He must be out of range with that jab outside, and as we just said, using the ring, trying to give angles, trying to give lateral movement to keep Ayala, who needs to be set to punch, from being set.
Bonsante's hope is to extend this thing into the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th round. This is a 12-round fight. One of the numerous organizations that tries to pass itself off as legitimate is putting its belt on the line. But it is incentive for Bonsante to try to get this thing to extend, because Ayala is 40.
Ayala early on seems to have the attitude of not much respect for the power of Bonsante. Bonsante does not have much hydro in those gloves.
Well, and Ayala's, when he's in range, crisp combinations.
As you broke down the records before, of his last 6 opponents, Bonsante, 2 of them have had more than 100 losses.
Ayala not over anxious here. He's waiting for Bonsante to come within range, which he has done at times, and that's enabled Ayala to land good, crisp, clean punches. Very patient, Tony Ayala, in round number 1. And a good round for Ayala. Get a look at Oklahoma City. Glad you can join us for Friday Night Fights. Bob Papa along with Teddy Atlas. And Teddy, obviously the legal problems for Tony Ayala, it's been a snowball effect for him for many years. He's trying to get back into a big payday. And in round number 1, he did a very good job of taking the opportunities that Bonsante presented to him.
Yeah, going to the body right away, you can recognize it. Bonsante recognizes something, Ayala recognizes something. What do they recognize? Bonsante recognizes, I'm not strong enough to stay in front of Ayala. Even though he's 40 years old, I have to move. And Ayala says, I got to go to the body to take that movement away. Who's going to get their way?
Well, so far, Tony Ayala has gotten the way in round number 1. And it's up to Bonsante to stay out of range and try to get this fight into the later rounds. But, Teddy, Bonsante could take this to the later rounds. But if he doesn't administer some type of punishment or make Ayala have to work, then it's not going to be a factor.
No, it's not. He wants to make them work, wants to make those rounds that pass by be rounds that count, be rounds that make him work. So he will be worn out at the end. You don't want it to be rounds where Ayala controls things early and then can coast at his own gear later on. Not have that 40-year age factor come into play.
We just showed you the CompuBox numbers with Saul Avilar and the champ, Fernando Hernandez, at the controls. And Teddy, you know, the numbers look like Bonsante, but if you look at the clean, crisp, effective scoring blows, as dubbed in professional boxing, I would think Ayala was the guy that had the edge.
Yeah, the effective punches. Who's controlling the ring and who's landing the most telling punches, the professional type punches, the punches that put people in the stands.
Bonsante staying on his toes, range to the outside. Trying to make Ayala work to get to him.
You made a good point before, Bob. It's one thing to survive in there. Bonsante stays outside, just survives. But if he wants to win this fight, he has to make sure that there's a work rate for Ayala. Make sure he throws punches and he wins rounds. Make sure that as the late rounds go on, or come, that Ayala is a little bit, something's been taken out of him.
These two were signed to fight a couple of months ago, but because of Ayala's most recent legal problems, charges that were dismissed against him, he was not allowed to leave the state of Texas. So that fight was postponed, and now Ayala is here in Oklahoma taking on Bonsante. A counter left hand for Bonsante after Ayala got a shot at him.
Ayala was inside where he was safe. A lot of people think you're not safe when you're inside. You are safe when you're inside.
Left hand knocks down Ayala.
It's when Ayala pulled back. I was just going to say, took the words out of my mouth, Bob. The punch you mentioned early on that didn't drop him but caught him was because Ayala went from inside to outside, stood tall, and got caught with the left hook.
So Tony Ayala gets dropped with a left hand going straight back, and another combination sends him down. It's being ruled a slip. I don't know how that's being ruled a slip. That was a knockdown. The round ends under the unified rules. Fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round. The referee called that a slip. That was another great combination from Bonsante.
You know, we mentioned early on that Ayala had an almost indifferent attitude, like he wasn't respectful of Bonsante's power. You could just see it in him. You could see it in his body language. You could see the way he was nonchalant coming forward. Well, now I guess he's just gained a different kind of respect for the power of Bonsante.
All right, we're going to show you the knockdown that was ruled a knockdown. It'll be interesting to see that one at the bell as well. Go ahead, Teddy.
Well, you're going to see Ayala. He pulls straight back. And you've heard it so many times on our air. You pull straight back, you get tall in front of your opponent in that punching zone, in limbo, no man's land. Watch, he's in no man's land. He's right at the end of the punches. You have to be all the way out or all the way in. Well, Ayala was on the floor.
And here's at the end of the round. The referee ruled this a slip, Teddy, but Ayala got tagged. It's a combination. That's not a slip.
That's no slip. The only way that doesn't count is if it's after the bell. But as far as the clarity of the punch, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, I mean, that second punch that sent Ayala down might have come right after the bell.
That's the only thing that could excuse it not being for a knockdown.
You know, and Sure, it's not ruled a knockdown, but in Ayala's head, it is a knockdown because he got hurt again. And here comes Bonsante, again putting on the pressure to start round 3.
In Ayala's head, it's a knockdown, and in Bonsante's head, it's more confidence.
See the punch numbers in round 2, and obviously, again, Bonsante with the bigger work rate. This time, the punches were effective.
In all honesty, early on, again, to go over that, I was mentioned that you could see the attitude of Ayala, that he was nonchalant about the power of Bonsante, like he could do what he wanted any time, and he did not have to worry about the power of Bonsante. Bonsante not known as a puncher, but when you're 40 years old, your chin does not always hold up the way it did when you were a younger man.
And now Bonsante is starting to do something that, if this fight does get extended, will have an effect. He's starting to throw combinations to the body as well, Teddy.
Very good point. No better way to take something out of the tank of your opponent for the late stages of a fight than to go downstairs. A good way to make sure that your opponent can't make a late rush at you. That, and added that he's doing it to a 40-year-old man, as we've said before. It's a good recipe. Now watch Ayala, exactly, but watch Ayala when he gets caught. He goes in, he's okay, but when he pulls back, that's when he gets caught. The first couple punches miss, but when he pulls back, the left hook is still there. Bonsante's still in position to throw, and he's able to land it. You could almost say, if you want to give Bonsante offensive credit, that the first couple punches are throwaway punches. They're just to set up Ayala. Like the first couple punches, they get blocked. It might say Ayala move forward like that, and then he'll pull out, and Bonsante will stay in position for the last punch to be the real counting punch. In other words, the first couple punches are just setups to get Ayala to move, even if he's getting away from him. And then Bonsante's ready for Ayala to pull out.
And the one thing about this fight, as Bonsante is in total control right now, Ayala still has punching power, Teddy. Bonsante still has to be careful and not get in position where Ayala can unload one of those power shots. Good uppercut by Bonsante. There's a left from Ayala.
Your chin goes when you're old, but the power usually stays.
Welcome back to your Boxing Authority Friday Night Fights, presented by Miller Lite. Bob Papa, Teddy Atlas, ringside, Norman, Oklahoma. Tony Ayala, 40-year-old, El Torito, and against Anthony Bonsante. Ayala had a good first round. Bonsante dropped Ayala in round number 2, hurt him near the end of the round. Ayala is hurt again as we start round number 4.
The jab is serving him well. The jab early in this round served to set up the left hook he landed, and then later the right hand landed by Bonsante.
Well, Tony Ayala told us that his father, who's in his corner, would tell him when it's time to stop chasing the dream. His father right now looking on wistfully as his son is taking a pounding from Anthony Bonsante. It's not to say things can't change, because in this sport and in any other sport, things can change in a flash. But right now, it's not a good start for Ayala.
You mentioned earlier that the hope lays in the power of Ayala here being behind in his fight. Even at 40, the power is the last thing to go. But speed goes. And when speed goes, the ability to land that power, crisp and precise and accurate, that can go.
Now, those punches bounced off Bonsante's shoulder, which took some steam off it. Bonsante camp thought this might unfold later in the fight, where they'd be able to sit down on some power shots. It's happened earlier. Right hand by Ayala.
This fight's going to be like one of those big-time college basketball games, Bob, when the big favorite comes into the game. The underdog has to do everything right to win the game, and they're winning the game, but you know at some point they're going to have to survive a surge. They're going to have to survive a run. Well, Bonsante's going to have to survive a run in some spot, and part of that spot has been here by Ayala.
So Teddy's scorecard, Teddy and I have it the same. 29-27. Left hand by Ayala. Another left by Ayala.
See, that's the key, what you just said. A left hand by Ayala, another left by Ayala. You're not saying a left-right. And that's the key. So far, Bonsante has shown himself to be of enough substance where maybe Ayala came in here thinking, because of the past track record of the opponents of Bonsante, that one punch was going to do it. So far, that is not going to do it against Bonsante, who came well prepared and is determined. It's going to take 2-3 punches. Ayala's going to have to change gear in that thinking. Go away from the one punch at a time.
Left hand from Bonsante. Ayala trying to rally, but he eats a combination again. Anthony Bonsante works at Kmart as a production supervisor. He took this fight against Tony Ayala to get his name on the map. The 32-year-old Bonsante out of Shakopee, Minnesota. 21, 3-3, 11 knockouts. 2 of his last 6 opponents have over 100 losses. But it hasn't mattered so far tonight. He has been pounding Tony Ayala, dropping him at the end of round number 2 and nearly having him out at the end of the second round, and then hurting him at the end of round number 4. You saw the punches landed. Bonsante's been busier. Ayala's the one who's gotten hurt in this fight. Still a long way to go.
Again, what you can look for is Ayala used to be known as El Toro, the bull. He'll look to come forward, he'll bend his head, he'll bob, he'll get in close. But instead of punching and staying in close, what has been his downfall so far early in this fight has been he'll get in close and then he'll pull out. And when he pulls out, Bonsante, who set the punch, made him pay the price, especially with the left hook.
And I'll tell you, too, you're talking about a 40-year-old man in the ring who's taken some punishment in this fight, and by his own admission, is not exactly taking care of his body, admitting to mainlining heroin at the age of 14. A lot of booze and drugs. It's a hard 40.
You never know when that moment's going to come, when you're going to be old.
It's not a Holyfield 40, that's for sure.
No, it's not. And that moment of being old may have come tonight. Once again, he's landed, Bob.
Good right hand by Bonsante there.
Ayala landed, but one at a time. And because of what we talked about, Ayala looked at the same thing. He looked at the record of Bonsante's opponents. He may have said in his mind, one punch will do it tonight. Well, he's going to have to change that thinking from what we've seen so far. Bonsante is determined, and he has a plan. And he's in great shape. He's coming in the lowest weight Bonsante has weighed in 5.5 years. Matter of fact, it's his first time that he's around 160 pounds in 5.5 years.
Good right hand there by Ayala, but it didn't seem to affect Bonsante.
In all fairness to Bonsante, we've chronicled the records of a lot of his inept opponents, but he's had some good fights on his record. Just 2 fights ago, he had a draw, 8-round draw with Prince Ajuma, who was 14-0 at the time. And if you go way back to 97, he's got a draw with Rajshay Wells, who was a 96 Olympic bronze medalist and is now a rated middleweight. Some good performances on that record of Bonsante.
Welcome back to ESPN 2 Boxing.
Friday Night Fights, your boxing authority, little Oklahoma flavor for you. Bob Papa, Teddy Atlas ringside. Tony Ayala against Anthony Bonsante, scheduled for 12. We're in round number 6. Ayala was hurt in the second round, dropped near the end of the round, hurt in round number 4. Let's take a look at the CompuBox numbers. Everything in Bonsante's favor. Ayala had a good first round where he dictated the terms and landed the harder punches. But Bonsante has not been deterred, Teddy, and he's taken some decent right hands from Ayala, hasn't flinched, and has dealt out his own punishment.
To his credit, as we said earlier, he came here with a game plan, a fight plan, great shape. As we said before, first time at 160 pounds in 5.5 years, and he's doing it the simple way. He's using that jab for offense and defense, controlling range. He's out of range when he needs to be. When he's in range, he's doing something, keeping Ayala busy. And when he's not, well, he simply steps out of distance and then around his man. So his man has to turn to punch.
And he's done enough body work, not consistent, but he mixes it in there just enough to tap on that 40-year-old frame of Ayala.
Done it the old-fashioned way, Bob, with the jab. Real simple. Nothing complicated, and all the credit to him in his corner.
Oh, uppercut hurt Ayala again, and Ayala is in trouble. He's been down before in this fight. And Ayala looking every bit of 40 years of age right now.
And right now, Bonsante, as we said, in great shape, the lowest weight in 5.5 years, but he's been the bigger man, and that may be helping him survive, as you mentioned earlier, some of those shots he took from Ayala, who normally is a big puncher.
There's a left hook to the body from Bonsante.
Bonsante turned pros in middleweight, then he moved up to super middleweight for most of his career. Ayala, of course, turned pro as a junior middleweight in the first 22 fights. Then now he's up to middleweight.
See the copy box numbers, 32 to zip through 2 minutes. This is the midway point, scheduled for 12. Ayala is going to need all those last 6 rounds to try to get back in this fight. As little-known Anthony Bonsante from Minnesota is doing a number on Ayala.
As we said earlier, Ayala needs to be set to punch. Bonsante's been doing a good job of not allowing that to happen.
All Bonsante through 6.
Bottom right-hand corner, it's the big right uppercut that lands, but watch the jab by Bonsante. It sets up that nice right uppercut that drives Ayala back to the ropes. Here's another angle. You can see the head snapping back from the impact of that right uppercut. Real clean punch landed by Bonsante.
Last round, Ayala threw 17 punches, according to CompuBox. Bonsante has thrown over 100 punches in each of the last 4 rounds. Take a look at the discrepancy here from round 6 alone. It's the power shots that Bonsante's landing. Good, clean, crisp punches like that uppercut that we showed you. So he has it 59-54. I have it the same way. I had a good first round. And I don't think Teddy, no, I didn't expect Bonsante to flash the power. Thought we might see him just stay on the outside box, use the jab, but he stepped in and taken advantage of his power opportunities.
I think that's not that he possesses great power, but he's been smart. He's been landing clean punches, setting them up well. He's landing them on, as we've said a few times, on a 40-year-old chin.
Blood from the nose of Bonsante.
You don't have to be a huge puncher when you're landing clean. And Bonsante, when he's been effective, he's landed clean.
Oh, there's the uppercut again. Ayala turns away. Didn't like it. Ayala just can't get out of the way of these power shots. And as you mentioned, Teddy, going straight back. Bonsante digging to the body's corner, imploring him. Dig that body. Dig that body.
You can see Bonsante still has an instinctual sense of respect for the power. The power that in the past has been there for Ayala. In other words, Bonsante still, he wants to score, and he has scored. But he still wants to be smart. He doesn't want to get greedy. He doesn't want to get careless.
Teddy, you know, we've had other fighters, Terrence Coughlin, whatever, where you say, all right, you got to finish the show now. You've got to really show something here, finish it. You're dominating this guy, now finish him off or whatever. Bonsante doesn't have to do that. He's got to just win.
No, that's all he has to do. It'll be a big upset. Nobody's ever heard of Bonsante before. They will hear of him now. You're right. He will have beaten a marquee name, even if the physical part of that name is long past. He will put himself on the map just by winning, Bonsante. You're right.
9-year-old daughter Brittany and 5-year-old son Derek. They know who Daddy is, and he's fighting a very good fight right now. A little warning here from referee Joe Miller to keep it clean. pleasure to be back in Oklahoma. Friday Night Fights is your boxing authority. Bob Papa, Teddy Atlas, ringside. Brian Kenny, Max Kellerman back in our Friday Night Fight studios. Tony Ayala, Anthony Bonsante. Ayala was dropped in round number 2. He's been hurt at other points in the fight today. Look at the jab numbers for Ayala and Bonsante. Just huge numbers for Bonsante, and that has set up everything for him.
Yes, it has. Set up his defense and his offense. Defensively, he's kept distance. He's kept Ayala busy. Kept him at bay. And offensively, he's been able to set up the hooks in the right hands.
Tony Ayala's father, who was his trainer, implored to him before the start of round number 8, in order to win, you have to throw punches. The problem is the other guy's throwing a ton of them.
And he's right, punches, not one punch at a time. Bonsante is too well prepared, too game so far tonight to get away with one punch at a time. Maybe in the past, that vaunted left hook like that one of Ayala might have done the job, but at this point in his life, it seems like he's going to need a left hook, right hand, or a right hand, left hook.
You know, the punches are not even affecting Bonsante, Teddy. He's almost taking clean shots and not even flinching.
I'll tell you, Ayala, you just mentioned about the need. His father told him the need to be on the offense. But watch how he will handcuff himself many times, Ayala, by going into that turtle defense. The old great mongoose Archie Moore used to do. He'll cross his hands, and then he can't punch.
Teddy, when Ayala gets hit with a good combination, he almost seems deflated. He almost resigns himself to the fact that I can't get out of the way of this.
Didn't come here expecting this, that's for sure, Bob. It's a good point. Did not come here in the mind frame for this kind of fight.
The mind may be willing, but the body, the reactions just are not responding. They're responding that fraction of a second too late.
And again, because of the jab of Bonsante, it makes it more important. Makes it more important for Ayala to use his jab, to get into range, to negate the jab of Bonsante a little bit. Not that he has to outscore him, but just to get into position.
Ayala steps up with the left hand there.
See, if only Bonsante's using the jab, he's going to have the better position. He has it. He has the better range. And again, Ayala does land the left hook as Bonsante goes straight back, but it was a left hook. A left hook, not a left hook right hand.
A bit more revived Tony Ayala in round number 8. All right, well, Teddy Atlas, last week, your young man, Michael Grant, was in action in Lemoore, California, and Michael Grant got a victory. We've had a week to digest the results. Give us your assessment.
Well, in all fairness, he was in there with a tough guy that was represented things that were more difficult than the guy looked. 5'8" for the guy, real tough, southpaw, awkward, and a real game guy. And Michael struggled in some moments there. But I will say that I really believe at the end, when Michael got it going, that is what he's going to show in his next fight. He's got a fight June 7th on HBO in Atlantic City on the Ward Arturo Gatti card. And I'm going to say right now that I believe that I guarantee that Michael Grant is going to step up to the plate, and he's going to show what he's gone through in the last 2 years coming back. He's going to show that kind of experience, that kind of character. He's going to knock out a very talented 21-0 Dominic Gwynn.
Mark Messier, look at this. He's making guarantees. All right, well, we'll find out on June the 7th. Giants head coach Jim Fossil has made a couple guarantees that have come through. And guarantee, hopefully your guarantee doesn't come through like all those guarantees that Patrick Ewing of the Knicks made over the years.
No, we're gonna
you don't want that one.
We're gonna put the ball in the basket.
Well, let's see if Tony Ayala can get any kind of consistent offense working here to put some pressure on Anthony Bonsante and try to at least rattle his cage a little bit. Corner of Bonsante says just keep that jab in his face. Keep that jab in his face. There's a combination from Ayala. Bonsante trying to tie him up. Ayala digging to the body a little bit there.
Ayala getting a little bit closer. But again, one punch at a time. And not even close to the old form of Ayala when he gets in close, and he used to take apart that body. Ayala got in close, and Bonsante did not suffer any damage to the body.
The corner of Bonsante to get out of the corner. That was when Bonsante was pinned in his own corner.
That body attack that used to be a fabled body attack by Ayala, you could see it there. Not nearly as effective. Backers of Ayala would like to see it be. Wide punches, and not real effective. There's that turtle defense. I think that's a bad idea. He goes defensive. You can see it right there. He puts himself into a handcuffed position. Crosses one arm over in front of his face, the other one across his body, and he gives himself a target and a target to that uppercut. That has been very effective here tonight.
I tell you, something that we do have to point out, we've talked about this fight going, if it does go the distance, it's 12 rounds. Bonsante's only been 10 once. These are the 8-round Midwestern Fed. It's interesting to see how he deals with the later rounds. He's thrown a lot of punches. He hasn't taken a ton, but we'll see how his stamina holds up.
And we'll see how much it'll have to hold up and how much it'll be taxed by the 40-year-old Ayala. When Ayala gets there, and that might be his only chance to win. We'll see if he can summon it up. So far, this round been a little bit better round for Ayala with the right hand landing, not the left hook.
Sure. He's pressuring Bonsante. One day, 2 networks, 4 major league events. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Now, Kenny Mayne starts at the NFL draft. He goes up to Boston for the Celtics, flies out for the baseball game in Anaheim, and then wraps it up with hockey in Vancouver, all in one day.
Pretty impressive.
He's got to finish it first.
I'm still impressed just hearing about it.
So, Ayala getting some things done in round number 9. He was dropped in round 2, hurt in round 4, hurt in round 6. These two threw numerous punches after the bell.
We talked about this being like a basketball game where one team is the big underdog. That would be Bonsante coming in there with a big powerhouse, and they're ahead, but they're going to have to survive moments, surges. Those moments are coming the last 2 rounds by Ayala. Ayala's getting closer, and he's been landing more solid punches. But again, it's one at a time. If it's the right hand, it needs to be the right hand left hook. If it's the left hook, it needs to be the left hook right hand.
In the last round was the first round that Ayala threw more punches than Bonsante, 72-71. Ayala's been hovering in the 20 punch range, and Bonsante's been throwing over 100.
Ayala has enough problems tonight without adding to them. He's much better off when his hands are in punching position, up to protect, ready to punch, moves his head, and he looks to punch off of that movement. But when he goes into that turtle defense, which he's done it several times tonight, he handcuffs himself. He leaves himself in a very prone position to get caught with clean shots, and he lets Bonsante know that there's no offense coming. He makes himself a target. He needs to move his head, bend his legs, and punch with that movement.
Is he trying to trick Bonsante when he does that today? Because Bonsante is throwing the uppercut every time he's done it. Is he trying to bait him into something?
No, I think he's just trying to get a moment. He thinks he's getting a moment where maybe he can clear up a target on Bonsante. But Bonsante's not going for it. Bonsante's taking advantage of that moment by scoring. I think he tries to size up Bonsante when he does that. Tries to get a clear look through the window. But while he's getting a clear look, Bonsante's getting off.
Good right hand by Ayala.
That's been the punch the last 3 rounds that's been effective. The right hand, the looping right hand has been able to find a home. And I'll tell you why. Bonsante's been lazy with the jab. Where he was throwing the jab earlier, Bob, from the right distance. Now he's throwing the jab from a vulnerable distance. from a little too close, and he's leaving himself susceptible to overhand rights.
We thought Ayala might fade late. Bonsante starting to misstep.
Bottom right-handed corner. Throughout the career of Ayala, it was the left hook you had to worry about. Well, right now, it's the right hand over that lazy dropped left hand of Bonsante that has been getting Ayala a little bit into this fight.
And the game plan for the Bonsante camp was take this fight to the late rounds. The 40-year-old Ayala wouldn't be able to deal with it. But it's Bonsante that's starting to fade. Did he build up enough of a cushion early in the fight when he hurt Ayala and dropped him, staggered him several other times, and just outworked him? But Ayala is starting to come on, and Bonsante is slowed down. Friday Night Fights is your boxing authority, presented by Miller Lite. Past 10 rounds, neither guy's ever done it.
We've talked about the jab being such a big part of this fight. As Bonsante makes a little run there offensively where Ayala goes backwards. Talking about the jab, how important it's been for Bonsante. That's what's put him ahead in this fight, and that's what might get him knocked out in this fight. It's either going to continue, he's not going to leave it. He's going to continue to lead the way, and he's going to win the fight, or he's going to get knocked out because of that jab. There was a right hand.
Oh, there's the uppercut. Another left hand, and Ayala is in some trouble here in round 11. Another uppercut. Bonsante trying to measure him. There's another one.
Second win
right
here.
hand.
Second win here by Bonsante, who had 3 rounds that were a little tough. Now he's shown that he's only 32.
Oh, big uppercut by Bonsante, and the referee stopping him.
He waited for a spot. Had a couple tough rounds, the last couple rounds, Bonsante. He got his wind together, got his mind together. And when we thought Ayala was going to be making the run, which he had been doing late in his fight, Bonsante starts the round off big and doesn't let Ayala off the hook. And doesn't have to worry about the jab leaving him susceptible. I thought it would leave him susceptible if he stayed outside and was lazy with him like he was several rounds before, where he was getting caught right hands. But not to be. Bonsante got into his punching pocket, and as you said, landed big uppercuts, telling punches.
Huge win for Anthony Bonsante, his 22nd, easily the biggest win of his career. And Tony Ayala just did not carry the power to 40 years of age, because early in the fight, especially in round number 1, and even at other points, he landed some clean shots that the Ayala of past would have hurt his opposition. And Bonsante, for the most part, never flinched. Teddy, even in round number 10, a couple of those right hands, I mean, you know, they were flush, and Bonsante, you know, he got knocked backwards, but he never appeared hurt. Take a look at the judges' scorecards. All 3 judges had Bonsante ahead. 2 judges had Bonsante ahead by 5 points, and 1 judge had him ahead by 7 points.
Good job by the judges.
Teddy, let's take a look at it. And you know, the uppercut, a huge punch in this fight for Bonsante.
Ayala gave it to him. He leaned forward, laid his head there, went into that little turtle there, and Bonsante knew what to do. And Bonsante followed Ayala. When Ayala tried to survive, tried to move the head, tried to cover up, Bonsante kept just enough distance, didn't smother himself, kept his hands moving, didn't let Ayala off the hook. And as you alluded to earlier, this time, instead of just getting Ayala in trouble, he closed the show. He gave the referee a reason to stop a 40-year-old fighter who had been hurt earlier in the fight.
Jumping for joy is Anthony Bonsante, the best shape of his career. He felt that he would win this fight. He was convinced, I'm not here to just be fodder for Tony Ayala's comeback. I'm here to win. Main event still to come, and Anthony Bonsante gets the winner. For Tony Ayala, really his hopes, with all due respect for Bonsante, of being a viable guy with the top guys has pretty much gone out the window, and it's pretty much the senior tour now with Camacho and Pazienza. Brian and Max, your thoughts on the viability of Ayala still in the sport?
Well, see, that's the thing. Now, 3.5 years ago, when he got out of jail and he came back, Ayala was in, it looked like, a very good shape. He's no longer in that type of shape. Bonsante, as Teddy pointed out, is at 160, 6 pounds lighter than he was in his previous fight. In the shape of his life, basically, Max, ready to go, and he wins going away. Ayala looked very slow in this fight.
Although, Bob, I still think he has a shot against Takar, who is somehow a mandatory in one of those sanctioning bodies. Ayala, the word that describes his career and I guess life so far is disappointing. He was such a hot prospect as a young kid, 17 years old, and he's beating up guys. And he was supposed to get the shot against Davey Moore, a fight most agree he would have won. Duran got it instead, and Duran won the title for Moore. We're talking about the early 80s now. And Ayala wound up getting arrested doing, what is it, a decade and a half in prison, inactive for 16, 17 years, and yet he comes back after that when you think, oh, it's all over, there's no way. And I'll tell you what, it was a remarkable comeback considering the level he attained for a guy who was inactive for 17 years, who was incarcerated during most of that time. And yet, once again, disappointing, because even in his comeback, he has not given himself his best possible chance to win because he didn't come in shape.
If he fights a top guy now, he could get hurt.
Oh, of course. No, Bob's right. Pazienza Camacho Sr.'s tour.